Hey, it's Mike Jacob coming to you from Jerusalem with our thought for the week. This is our third and final discussion on the legacy of Rav Ovadia Yosef. And this, I believe, is going to hit the essence of what he was all about. I want to tell you a medrash in this week's Parsha Chayei. The medrash goes as follows. It tells us of a story of Rabbi Akiva sitting with his students. And the medrash says that Rabbi Akiva's students were dozing off. So Rabbi Akiva wanted to wake them up. So Rabbi Akiva told them as follows. Rabbi Akiva asked them a question. How is it possible for Esther, Queen Esther, to rule over the entire world of the ancient world, which was 127 countries? How was that possible that she got into that position? So the students didn't know what to answer. And he says, I'll tell you what the answer is. Why? Because Sarah, who passes away, dies in this week's Parsha, she lived 127 years. So therefore, Queen Esther ruled over 127 countries. What exactly was Rabbi Akiva telling them? A nice riddle? Some trivia in the Bible? What was going on over here? I believe he was telling them as follows. Rabbi Akiva lived at the time of Roman oppression, where Torah scholars were trodden upon, and they didn't believe in themselves fully. They didn't have full confidence in what they were doing. They were dozing off, so to speak. So Rabbi Akiva tells them, he says, how did Esther become the ruler of the entire ancient world? Because Sarah Imenu lived a private life, but she lived a perfect life. She lived a perfect Jewish life of 127 years. And that, many hundreds of years later, impacted and saved the Jews in the ancient time, in the time of Achashverosh, Haman, Mordechai. They were saved. They had power because Sarah lived a perfect life. And he was telling his students, if you study Torah, the Romans are going to be after us. Ultimately, Rabbi Akiva is killed and murdered by the Romans. But your Torah learning will impact the Jewish people in future generations. And I believe that is the essence. That was the essence of Rav Ovadia Yosef. He was someone who impacted the entire Jewish life in Eretz Yisrael and all over the world for that matter. And where did that come from? It came because he was the ultimate masmid. From a very young age, he learned Torah and didn't stop until his final days. The impact of his Torah. And I think that's the lesson and the legacy that we need to take from Rav Ovadia Yosef. Nobody should ever underestimate the power of his Torah learning. We may not become a Rav Ovadia Yosef. We may become a Rav Ovadia Yosef, but we may not. But never, ever minimize the power of your Torah. You learn, it's going to affect you. It affects your surroundings, your family, the entire world for generations to come. Torah study, the most powerful thing. That's what Rabbi Akiva was teaching his students, and that's what we as students and people that lived under Rav Ovadia Yosef have to take from his life and move forward with this concept. Shabbat Shalom.